Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 139, according to Joe. My name is Evan Lewis. I am, of course, joined by the man whose voice could never be replicated by an artificial intelligence. It's Leo Andry.
I don't know why anyone would want to replicate my voice. I still don't understand why anybody listens to a show with my voice. I mean, I know everybody says they really hate their voice, but I really hate my own voice.
I mean, after a while, you just get
you just become numb to me. Is how
I mean, for 30 years.
Oh, there you go. Hey, everybody. I got your art for the day. And that is the voice of the man whose gun always leaves the holster. It's Joe Latovsky.
Sounds like a euphemism.
I was thinking the same thing. But I was just like, no. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. Just putting a lot of images in my head.
What Joe go to jail for? He kept, taking his gun out of the holster in public.
He killed a man? No, it was just his wiener.
Just picturing just quick draw style, just at the urinal.
But that wait. So that means you're locking eyes with the dude next to you?
Yeah, and the camera zooms in a couple times. And then in
it would have to be it wouldn't be a guy next to him because guys never pee in the urinal next to another guy anyway.
Well, unless
they're really close or business people.
Yeah, unless it's
business people just talking on the phone while they're rocking a piss. I don't understand it.
Oh, yeah, no.
Or it could be worse. I mean, it could be you're at the Metrodome and you're all just peeing in troughs.
But yes, it's in one quick motion is the unzip and then the removal, and then it's all over.
Do you make little gun shooting noises while you do it too?
Yes.
But what's funny is that in that moment when you have locked eyes with the man all the way down at the other end of the bathroom, like one of those long Disney bathrooms, and in your head you're both going, ah!
No, there's
and you know it.
Kid crying in the stall.
Oh, ambient children. Okay, well, you know what? Let's move on. I think that's probably best for everyone involved. We'll move on. I did not intend for my intro to become a commentary on the best bathroom at Disney World, which is definitely the Tangled restrooms. They are by far the best restrooms in Magic Kingdom, at least.
Huh.
Joe's wondering why that's a thing. Believe me, it's a thing. Finding the best bathroom.
If I ever had the skills myself or the team, that's the app I would make, is basically just a public restroom locator, and you can see all the ones nearest to you and see reviews, and
you can rate them.
This one actually doesn't have gaps in the stall doors. It's European style.
They have stall doors.
Or this one,
nice.
This
okay.
one's
that's actually a good idea.
This one is the one where I, spent an hour and almost died, and that, you can leave little stories if you need to. There will be no photo sharing capabilities, though.
Oh. Okay. That's fine. Anyways, you should trademark that right now. Moving on. Just in case, we decide to no longer run the runner at the front of the episode. I don't know if that's the technical term or not. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to all the patrons for joining us in chat tonight and for making this show even possible in this day and age, in this economy. We appreciate every patron.
You know how hard it is for three white
realsies
guys to start a podcast these days?
About Star Wars in this economy? Provocative. But yes, we appreciate every single one of our patrons. If you want to find out how you can join the coolest cats on planet Earth, you can go to patreon.com/thejodocast with a the Jodocast. Having said that, I'm going to do a really, really quick what we've been playing because we can plug our little RPG podcast.
Yeah.
It's on the same feed, so it's not like you got to go elsewhere. I just want everyone to know. Go ahead, Joe, since you're the man in charge.
I've been playing. I did some Legion. I did some Star Wars The Phantom Menace customizable card game. And...
is Star Wars Episode 1 the customizable card game?
Star Wars...
It's a tiny little box set that Decipher released. I forget if it was like... I think it was... It might have been before Young Jedi. It's just like that one little box.
There are advertisements for Young Jedi in the back of the rule book.
In there? Okay. I couldn't remember. I've been meaning to buy it myself for a while and check it out, but Joe beat me to it.
You don't already have it?
No.
Wait, so was that the Empire versus Rebellion of its time?
No. It looked
really.
like they intended to make expansions for it, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Wow. It's a deck builder, but it's very simplified, and there's enough cards that you could have 4 decks built at once, and I think there's 8 total combinations of decks. I don't know. It's kind of neat. Pretty. I liked it. It's not... I don't think it would hold up these days, but... There'll be a video of it, maybe, before you even hear this. So go check out the YouTube if you want to watch us play it, because it's kind of funny. But besides that, I've been playing the Star Wars role-playing game with Evan and Christian and sort of Leo.
He's there.
Sort of.
Physically.
And that's been great. If you don't know, dear listener, we started a new role-playing game campaign set in the High Republic. So check your podcast feeds, or better yet, our YouTube channel if you want to watch us and see the dice rolls for Triumph and Despair, the High Republic.
Well, that's what I've been playing, so I'll toss it over to Leo.
Oh, you haven't hopped on the new patch for SWTOR?
What did I do? Oh, I reset my passwords for it. And then I attempted to download it, I think, maybe. But then Total War Warhammer 3 came out, besides having Pokemon Arceus, so I'm a little bit busy with video games. But I've been playing Star Wars RPG, and I'm just a Padawan this time.
And I'm going to assume you've been having the time of your life, and I won't hear it any other way.
It's been amazing. And yeah, it bears saying that we mentioned that Leo is sort of there. He's working the wheels of steel behind the scenes. And it makes a huge difference, honestly, to have someone
if you're
who's
watching
actually...
the videos instead of listening to it on the podcast feed, I'm pushing buttons in the background.
Yeah, he's
Sometimes I tell Joe he's doing the rules wrong.
I mean, that's also helpful because I don't know the rules as well as I should. So far, none of the audience has complained that the GM doesn't know the game perfectly, so that's good.
Just if they give you any, just tell them it's your own house rules, and deal with it.
High Republic era rules.
The book hasn't been written yet.
Yeah, they can't argue with you.
That's right. You got anything else going, Leo?
I have been playing. I know a little while ago I joked that I was going to start playing Galaxy Heroes again now that they were adding Darth Talon and Mara Jade into the game. So I did do that. I've actually been playing Galaxy Heroes again for a while. Boy, anybody who complains about 343's monetization of Halo Infinite should play Galaxy Heroes, and they'll learn to stop complaining, because holy fuck.
Yeah.
They are greedy as with that game. But it's an okay way to kill time while I'm taking a poop. I'll probably stop again whenever Hunters finally
it does
in our region.
Yeah.
Aren't they launching it in like Indonesia or something here soon?
Regions, but only on iOS.
Oh, well, that's garbage.
I was gonna say I could if it was on Android, I could I think it's in Mexico now. I could just drive across the border and you're I'm playing it.
I guess I do. I would think that whenever they launch it in the Americas, it'll be on both operating systems.
All three?
But I guess if it's iOS only,
it's Switch, Android, and iOS.
Yeah. But I've got an iPad that I could play it on. So
there you go. Attaboy.
What else have I been doing? I've played a few games of the CCG on GIMP lately. That's been fun. I've played a few games of Legion 2. Got a tournament coming up next weekend, so I've tried to get a couple practice games in. Life has just ended up interfering to the point where I did not get as many as I was hoping to, so probably not going to do real great. But also, most people in my region right now haven't been playing a lot either, so all except for the fact that we have Josiah
Is that somebody
in our area who well, he has been the Armada world champion. He won since when they didn't have a Worlds here. Was it last year or the year before? And Gen Con had their big online tournament. He won that. He's won the Online Invader League. I don't think he's won it, but I know he's been in top 4 in the Invader League on Tabletop Simulator before also. Yeah, just in general, Josiah is a really good miniature gamer.
I don't think it matters how tall he is.
No, yeah. But yeah, he's living here in Fargo now, so he plays Legion with us sometimes and kind of beats our asses, but it's still fun. You learn a lot when you play against him, though, That's too, good. Which is always a really great.
I always like playing against really good players who aren't annoying to play against.
Yeah, I did feel bad the one time we had a tournament and a guy showed up who he had only played like the learn how to play game a couple times. And even then, like, they got some rules wrong. Like, he didn't really quite understand how cover worked and stuff. Ended up getting paired against Josiah round 1 of the tournament. And I think by the time the game was over, he had only killed like 5 of Josiah's minis. Not units, minis.
Oh, wow.
I felt bad for the guy because he kept trying to do things, and Josiah was actually really patient and really nice with him, and like was explaining it to him, which was really cool. But I kind of felt bad for the guy to get like his first ever real game to get paired up against one of the top players in the world. Well, I think that's about it. Yeah, been playing Fallen Order also. Been dinking around with that, trying to get ready for another video we're going to make in the future.
Nice. Well, all right then. Well, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to get us moving right along, because I predict this will be one where we'll have plenty to talk about. Speaking of... That was a horrible transition, but you know what? I'm going to run with it. Speaking of our Triumph and Despair High Republic, it's been a little over a year since the High Republic launched, correct? So, one thing that we've been talking about this entire time is, man, it sure would be nice if there was a setting source book for the Star Wars Fantasy Flight RPG that featured the High Republic. And that is what we are going to theorycraft tonight. And since it has been out for a year, since the first book, I'm going to dial our spoiler alert to, what is it, Fallen Star?
You want Fallen Star spoilers to be fair game?
No. That's where the alarm goes off. We're dialing it in to Fallen Star so that when
I still haven't quite started it yet, so I can't give you any spoilers for that book anyways. So it's sitting on my nightstand ready to go. So
you're saying
someday.
What the fuck is the second one called?
Into the Darkness? No, or is that
Rising
the kid
Storm?
One? Yeah, there we go.
So like Phase 1.2
they have kind
is
of
fair game.
Generic
Phase
titles.
1.3 is not. Because they
if we're going by hardcovers, I guess that's correct.
I mean there's 3 hardcovers, then each one has its own little, trail of ducklings that follow along. The 3 big ones.
Okay. I mean I honestly, I still assume incorrectly. I realize it's incorrect, but I feel like even though Fallen Star is the finale of Phase 1, like, it has, for whatever reason, stuck with me that it's Phase 2, but it's not. So, the finale of Phase 1, that's where we're going to set our spoiler alert to. So
yeah, okay, so you're saying don't talk about... We don't talk about Fallen Star and after, because technically it's not the last thing that happens in Phase 1. There's still... I'm currently in the middle of Midnight Horizon, and there's another Mission to Disaster comes out soon, plus the comics and
yes,
stuff.
Exactly. We don't talk about Fallen Star. No. We don't talk... Nothing? Okay, never mind. I tried really hard with that one. We don't talk about Falling Star. That's what we're saying.
Star.
Everything else, it's been a year, and it's my own fault that I'm not caught up. Anybody else, you know what? That's not my fault. That's all I'm going to say. So we're going to talk about it. You've had a year. All right. So having laid those ground rules, we're going to discuss what we would like to see in a High Republic source book. And this could go for any version of Star Wars RPG. We're not going to limit it to FFG, although that's, I think, where all of our headspace would be.
Oh, wow. You want a West End Games High Republic source book?
Why not?
Someone will probably put one together.
Yeah. And people are making home mods of Star Wars all the time, and I'm sure some people just can't get enough of the old revised D20 circa 2003 version. So to give a little bit of form to this chaos, what do most source books usually contain? Specifically, looking at Star Wars source books, they usually revolve around a timeline. So there would be if we're just looking at Phase 1, there would be a timeline of events. Not super detailed, but enough to give you a rough idea of, like, I'd like to set my adventure after this event and before that one.
I think, yeah, because, like, what I'm doing with our campaign is I have it start roughly at the same moment Light of the Jedi starts. So it's kind of like, and I feel like that's what the book would do, is kind of give you the setting as it is in Light of the Jedi, which is kind of the setup to that.
Sure.
So they often have main characters, like those Clone Wars ones have stats for, like Obi-Wan and Anakin and people like that. Right? I think those are the only of the eras or like the setting source books I've looked at.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we would get some of the main players definitely would get statted out in these books.
So it would probably be like Stellan and Avar Chris and Elzar Man and Marchion Ro and maybe Lorna D. I would think we would see stats for those. Maybe we'd get Yoda. They'd probably like to throw a Yoda in there, even though he's not a big player in the High Republic. He's around.
Middle-age Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, they've done that with like Obi-Wan, where we've gotten Clone Wars Obi-Wan statted out, Old Man Obi-Wan statted out.
But yeah, I'm sure they would, like you said, they would definitely kind of lay out the major events, like, sort of, I'm sure they would give us sort of like a whole, like, it's the golden age of the Republic, blah, blah, blah. Then there's the Great Disaster, and the Nile show up, and then the Drengir show up.
Yeah, you'd have stats for, like, different level Nile enemies, like just little chuds and all the way up to the main guys. And I'm sure there'd be, like, a big paragraph describing, like, the organizational structure of the Nile with the Eye and the Tempest Runners and the Storms or whatever, however they break themselves down. For that.
That would actually that could definitely be like a really cool section to kind of read through. Would be, like you said, like the organizational how the Nile are all set up. And yeah, I suppose you probably want to have the three what are they, the Storm Leaders?
Tempest Runners, I believe they're called.
Tempest Runners, is that what the
Tempest,
wouldn't be
Storm,
surprised if
and
Cloud, isn't it the smallest ones? Aren't they? No, I don't remember.
Drizzle.
Wintry Mix.
Yeah, I imagine you could see them all statted out and stuff too.
I could see them giving you the options to put the tools there for if you wanted to play as members of the Nile. Like
sort of like the Edge of the Empire.
Right. And
more with the obligation and stuff like that, and play as a Nile.
Yeah, and there might be information about like how your ship is different with the path engines and things like that for hyperspace stuff. On the flip side, you'd probably get for the Jedi, maybe we were talking about, we'd have those characters statted out, but you might also get the hierarchy of the Jedi with who's on the council and who's the Marshal of Starlight Beacon and who's doing what. Like, okay, Avar is concerned with the Drengir more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have to they'd have to sort of provide a little bit more setting information here too for people.
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of be like yeah, the Jedi often have outposts on a lot of these planets
temples.
where there's a few Jedi kind of stationed at them, and they do this.
Because that would be a good,
because that's very different from how things are in like even the
that would
prequel
also
eras,
be
or
starting place for an adventure if your players are Jedi, and say, okay, you guys are the only ones on this little Jedi outpost on this planet. Because what I'm doing with our story is it's intersecting with the events of Light of the Jedi, but I'm trying to keep it separate from them. Like I have said, you guys aren't going to kill Marchion Ro. Like, there's nothing that, if I can help it, there's nothing that's going to happen in our story that would, like, put it in the alternate timeline of the official story. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to read those books and be like, oh, my character, he's running over there in the background doing this other thing that's, you know, unrelated or just slightly adjacent to what's happening in these books.
And that's actually one of the main things that I wanted us to talk about, is that, like, we can talk about some player options and some of the special the unique challenges that GMs could throw at players set in this time period. But what are some of the adventure hooks that are specific to this time frame? Because I think that informs the challenges. It informs what are the special things we can give players to help them deal with the challenges, and then where, like you said, with a starting adventure that people could use with this, or turning it into a whole big campaign. So, like, what are some? Both of you have read more than I have. So, what are some of the unique adventure hooks that this era offers?
I think there's some interesting things to be told, sort of from a exploration point of view. The galaxy's a lot less well explored. Hyperlane routes aren't nearly as well mapped at this point.
As in, it's not just your computer sorts it all out for you. Your computer has to talk to a hyperspace beacon to work, which is how the Republic effectively closes people out of hyperspace for a while, because without these beacons doing a lot of the navigational work for you, your ship can't manage hyperspace as well. And that's also why hyperspace is a little bit more restrictive on, like, the routes you can take, because without those beacons, you're not going to do so hot.
And there's a lot more systems independent from the Republic too at this point,
right? Which is,
you know, like in the second book, there's a big plot point about them trying to bring the Togrutans into the Republic,
right? Who have up until that point been pretty reclusive and kind of isolationist. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of setting things like that. I think when we did session 0, I said you guys aren't allowed to pick Togruta as a species because they're not part of the Republic. They wouldn't have any Jedi. As far as...
Well, hey, wait. They don't have any Jedi?
Oh, wait, I lied. One of the main characters in our campaign.
Yes, I was going to say, wait a minute. I've read enough.
Jorah Mali is a Togruta. I guess they leave, but their government is not a Republic. They're not in the Republic, nor are they.
That's fair.
Intertwined with intergalactic relations. But as far as adventure hooks, I could probably rattle off a million of them. I feel like I should, but first, before that, because we said, okay, we'd have the explanation of the structure of the Republic and the Jedi, the Nile. I think there would also need to be a page or two explaining the Drengir, because the Drengir and the Nile are the two big baddies in this era, and stat out the Drengir and how, which I think would pose a bunch different and less traditional RPG fight than a Nile would. A Nile's just a person you can punch. Drengir, they don't die as easy, so that would be an interesting thing for them to explain in the rules. Beyond that, I think you there's always a good chunk of pages dedicated to locations, right?
Oh, yes.
Obviously,
yes.
First and foremost, you would have a big spread and explanation about Starlight Beacon. It can move throughout space. I don't think it has... Maybe it has hyperspace. It gets towed at one point.
That sounds so sad.
The different sectors, there's like a medical tower and like the Jedi temple portion and the training room and the like hangar for people's personal ships and the hangar for cargo and the
that sounds like a really good starting point. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Having your players start on Starlight Beacon.
Or, as their base, even if they don't own the place, it's a very good, like, you guys go back to your hangout on Starlight Beacon.
Now, I forget, is Starlight one of multiple beacons, or was it the first of, and they were planning on doing more after?
I don't remember if they were planning on doing more, but it's certainly the only one, and it's
okay, no, because they do mention how, like, I know that they mentioned how there was plans for beacons all over the place.
Leo.
At one point, but I couldn't remember if any of those had been built yet or not, or if Starlight was the very, very first.
It was their last best hope for peace.
Yeah, well, it failed.
It failed.
Oh, sorry. You said no Fallen Star spoilers.
Yeah, so it's
that was Babylon 5, folks. That was Babylon 5, not Fallen Star at all.
But yeah, it's supposed to be this kind of beacon of hope and the Jedi and what the Republic can bring to the Outer Rim. And it's very cool, and it's got a lot going on. So obviously there'd be that, and then I think besides that there'd just be a smattering of other planets that they visit in the books. That there'd probably be one for Hetzal, and can't think of any other major places that come to mind. There'd probably be
one for the fair,
like Valo
and stuff.
Yeah, there'd be a Valo, which is the main location for the second book. There'd probably be where the Nile party. They have like a space station that's like a rock with a big bubble over it. That's just in the middle of nowhere. There's also the planet where the Nile, the Jedi and Republic go find the Nile in the second book. I don't remember what that place is called, but that would probably be a place. So yeah, there'd definitely be like a list of locations, but
yeah, I mean they could talk about the station,
Coruscant,
where they first find the
Maxine
Dringer.
Station would definitely be in there, and they could put that in that station exists it's in the Kylo Ren comics too. Kylo Ren and Snoke hang out there.
Ooh,
no Drengir, but a Maxine Station would definitely be one.
Even if they're not new exclusive worlds, there are certainly more visited, more recognizable worlds that simply have a different, not literal climate, but a different situation in this different time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other stuff like Bacta's not really a thing.
Oh, that'd be a big one. It would.
I mean, we're used to that though with Culto back in the olden days Republic.
I believe in the High Republic, Culto is still the main thing.
Is it really? Oh, well,
think
good for
so.
them. Good for the Manon people.
I think they even, before they understand what the Great Disaster is, because Hetzal is like the key place Bacta is being developed and grown, because it's like an organic thing you grow. They're like, maybe the Selkath are behind this because they don't want this business thing.
Oh, I remember that.
Anyone else annoyed that that they made Hetzal like the main Bacta place instead of Thyphera like it used to be?
I never heard of Thyphera. That sounds like a thyroid medicine.
Shut up.
Clearly,
go read the X-Wing series.
I was going to say he's not read enough X-Wing, although from what I hear, everyone finds it a bit problematic these days.
Speaking of X-Wing, we can look at the vehicles segment of the source
new
book.
ships.
There'd be stuff about
yes,
the Nile ships, which are just kind of cobbled together Mad Max type things. There'd be the Ataraxia, I believe it's called, which is a ship that I think it's kind of the main Republic / Jedi cruiser thing, which is annoying to me because in the books,
it's not a hammerhead.
No, in the books, it's described as sort of having the shape of the Jedi Order logo, where it's probably got like two big wings and then like a thing out the middle. And then in the comics, It's illustrated completely disregarding that description from Light of the Jedi. And then obviously the Jedi vectors would be the big thing, because if you're playing with Jedi, they might want to be in that.
Yeah, I just love all the thought that went into making them like you have to use the Force to actually pilot those ships.
And if you want to use the weapons, you have to slot your lightsaber into the thing, and your lasers are the same color as your lightsaber. They're awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I may be picturing them incorrectly, but whenever I picture those Jedi ships, I think of, what is it, the R-Wing from Star Fox?
I'm going to look that up and see how close you are.
Yeah, they don't really look like the R-Wing.
No? Okay, no. I don't know.
There's plenty
I was thinking of something...
of actual pictures of them, so...
Oh, are there? Well, that's a new one on me. I've not read any of the comics.
You can even... Yeah, you should... There's visuals
in
for
my
much
mind,
of the
whenever,
things, including most of the characters.
Whenever I picture the Nile ships, like in my mind, when I'm reading the books, to me they're always kind of like the Reaver ships in Firefly. Yeah. Like they're like they have like smoke pouring out of them and stuff.
Speaking of smoke and Nile, that would be a thing mentioned, is that their tactic of choice is poison gas. And that's why they all wear gas masks, because they, you flood an area with, mustard gas or whatever, and you walk in, everyone else is having a hard time, and you're fine. So that would probably be mentioned as a common tactic, or maybe that's something the game master should know, and then your players might not figure that out until later with the rest of the Jedi, because it's a brand new threat that maybe your players can kind of discover along with the rest of the story.
I just looked up the vectors, and I guess I had seen them before, because it clicked with me how not too terribly dissimilar they are to some of the starfighters in Old Republic. I mean, a good guy ship in Star Wars looks like a good guy ship in Star Wars. I mean, there's that, but I do think that they look, they have that same sort of X-Wing but not philosophy of let's make them even more streamlined. And yeah, they looking at the picture of the Vector was like, oh, hey, that could just as easily be in the Old Republic. Anyways, I'm sorry. I got on my
I just remembered one more setting that would almost certainly be present in this source book, which would be Alfrana, which is it's in Light of the Jedi. It's that kind of rocky planet where they ride the metal horses, and
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about that because I'm still on that portion.
And because there's like an old Jedi temple there. Also, Luke and Ben Solo visit that in some later comics. That's where Bell finds Ember, the Charhound. So there might be stats for Charhounds in there if you want to give your Jedi a little pet. I would also think maybe the bit about the Jedi, to help out.
We need to make a little card for Charhounds to slip into your clumsy random deck.
I'd probably want to put some stuff in the description of the Jedi about their views on stuff. The Jedi rules on attachment are the same as they are in the prequels. It's just people interpret them differently. Like they're like, and how feelings, how you should act about your feelings and stuff. There's a lot of in these books Jedi dealing with love and attachment and things, and how they all have a much less dogmatic take on the text of the Jedi and how they should be dealing with these things.
Yeah, but you can also, that's the one thing that's kind of cool, is you can also see like the debate within the Jedi Order, where there's some who want to start moving things into a more prequel-y sort of direction.
Yeah.
With that.
So, do you want me to try and think of adventure hooks? Maybe I should...
Yeah, I think that adventure hooks help to inform a lot of the rest of it, the player options and the challenges, whether we're talking combat challenges or otherwise. I think
the other element of the source books tends to be like new gear and equipment, and I can't think of anything that would be in here that would be different from any other era. There is a device
not
that can like short out lightsabers in a vicinity, but I don't think that's it's like a unique thing. It's probably not something any player character could buy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be anything like unique to the High Republic as far as gear. Maybe.
Yeah, other than maybe like some of the more varied lightsabers we're seeing.
True, but that exists. That's in the Gadgets and Gear book. I think I found a table about like you want a crossguard lightsaber. It has these stats, so maybe that sort of thing would be repeated or expanded on.
Ceremonial robes, because that's how we meet so many of them.
Yeah. I think if you for adventure hooks, you could do a lot of just take a scenario from any of the books and dump your players into it, and it works good. Like, okay, they're on a planet and they're trying to help the civilians survive the stuff falling from the sky, or you're on a ship and it gets raided, by Nile, like they shut your ship down and they're boarding you, or you are I think a big one that would be basically put them at Valo during the Republic Fair, which may or we'll see how things go, but I have a feeling that our heroes in Triumph and Despair will end up on Valo if we make it that far in the timeline without anybody dying. Because
oops, I just realized we've been using the High Republic background for recording this whole time. Oh well.
Oh well, hey, nothing wrong with that. It's still on brand.
The High Republic Fair, I think, would get a good deal of page space in there explaining what its deal is and then what happens there, and then all of the things your players could be doing while dealing with that. Whether it be fighting some Drengir off outside the city, which happens in one of the whatever they're called.
Comics.
No,
Comic
not young
books.
adult, middle
Like the
grade.
young
Is that
adult.
what it's called? Or dealing with the animals escaping the zoo, or fighting the Nile over here, or fighting the Nile over there, or fighting the Nile up there, or being on this Poseidon cruise liner that's sinking.
Adventure.
Yeah. You might saddle them with like some kind of diplomat type person that they're in charge of caring for, or some local. I think if your players are Jedi, it's hopefully not too annoying to try and stick them with some kind of innocent-ish person that they have to protect.
An escort quest?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
sir.
I mean, and like I was saying earlier, is like the Republic's a lot smaller in this era, and in some of the territories and stuff that they might be going out into, the Jedi in the Republic are kind of seen as like invaders, colonizers. Like they're not really wanted. So like that's could be some good fodder for something to brew up an adventure around.
Yeah. You can always just say, the Nile we're seeing here, go deal with it. And then put them on any Outer Rim planet you want, with any sort of setting, maybe some kind of town or settlement. Or the Drengir we're seeing here, go deal with it. You could always set things before the Nile and Drengir appear on the scene, and make it a little bit more of a Western, where your characters are, like a U.S. Marshal type law enforcement, where they're just sent around the territories settling disputes, because that's what the Jedi have done, and what they still do in the time of the prequels is they get sent to places to, like, what Kenobi was just doing a border dispute on Antion or whatever, like just send them to find some kind of conundrum to send them on, as at places that maybe have never heard of a Jedi, and then they show up and they try and keep the peace, because that's kind of what would have been going on before, like, the terrible things start happening. Some themes that I think are kind of present throughout all of the books is is Masters dying and Padawans feeling bad about it. So you could, in my case, if I was giving myself advice, I would say kill the Master character. Just kill one of your player characters. That's very High Republic. I think maybe somehow try and get them attached to some NPC or something, and then take it away from them, because a lot of stuff, especially as they go on, a lot of the Jedi characters struggle with just how much loss the Nile impose upon them, and like how, like, a lot of them get kind of struggle with their feelings towards the dark side. I feel like a third of the Jedi are like doing all right. Third of them are like struggling with dark side stuff related to feelings of grief and loss and anger towards the Nile, and the other third are dealing with, like, I wish I could kiss people.
I mean, you can, as long as it's meaningless, right?
That's according to what's his face in Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. I don't remember his name. Qui-Gon goes into his room and there's like evidence of like a one night stand. He's like, as long as I'm not attached, right, bro? No attachments.
That's right. He's like, I didn't even call her a cab. I just like, bye. No breakfast for you.
I think those are the obvious ones. Send them after Drengir, send them after Nile. Have them get ambushed by those parties, especially if you're on like a ship in space. Giving myself ideas.
I mean,
so
that sounds great.
I guess I'm also really interested now to see where the second High Republic sourcebook would go here for the Phase 2 one, just to see how the galaxy's different when we jump back in time another, 150 years or something like that it's going to be?
I think they said, for Phase 2, where we'll see the Blade of Bardata. Maybe even younger Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
I hope we get to the
Literal
point where eventually we have
Yoda.
like a Grogu. Age Yoda.
My friend told me about the most ridiculous theory he saw online is that Grogu is actually Yoda who goes through the world between worlds to be back in time.
Oh my gosh.
That's... I think the other thing to think about for this one is what if your players want to play as the Nile or just a non-Jedi character, because there's still there's a number of non-Jedi characters who all tend to get tied up in the Nile. One thing I would go for, which seems to be common amongst some of our non-Jedi characters, is that they are the offspring of a bad person that they didn't realize was bad until they got a little older and learned some things. If I had a nickel for every one of those characters, I'd probably have 2 or 3 nickels, maybe.
Wow.
So, which sounds like have your character. I don't know how. Is it dirty to have your player set up a character whose parent was maybe the previous owner of the business they work for, like a smuggler or a shipper or, freighter person. And then you have them uncover the fact that their parent was actually, working with the Nile or involved with slavery or something like that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. That seems reasonable.
Because that also is a very High Republic thing you could do to your players.
Yeah, and it seems like as far as like antagonists, unique to that era, I think you're probably gonna have to stick with the Nile. Like I think Drengir are gonna be too much for
they don't
your average citizen to take on.
Just even if it doesn't have to be a high-ranking Nile, depends on the power level of your characters. But if you look at Into the Dark, we've got a Nile who's kind of one of the main foils, and she's just a kid the same age as the other main characters. So it could just be some low-level Nile that they keep bumping into. And they have maybe developing some kind of relationship with, even if it's like, you again.
Yeah. Well, and even, I realized at the beginning I said, you could apply this to any Star Wars RPG system, but given that the current one is the FFG, a reoccurring nemesis is sort of factored into that system, where you've got a character that keeps popping up.
Yeah.
And in fact, they're called a nemesis. You expect to see them over and over again. Are there current NPC templates that would work well for the Nile? I don't know anything about the Drengir. I've not read any of the comics. I only know the Nile from what I've read in the first
I'm sure
book.
you could find any sort of just NPC that, and you go, yeah, that's a Nile. Oh, this skilled bounty hunter, that's a Nile. This low-level pirate, that's a Nile.
I mean, really, like any pirate or you know, they're not going to be.
They're not uniform
really
at all.
That much
either,
different
so
than that.
Every other one could have different stats, and it would feel fine.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really makes them unique is their path engines,
and they're just kind of
with their ships and
their ruthlessness. And one of the things that
mm-hmm.
the characters tend to note is they pick on weak targets.
Mm-hmm.
They like to extort people, find soft targets and hit them and get out of there before the more powerful people can show up.
Yeah,
typically,
even if it blows up in their faces, like we saw.
If you get if your players want to be Nile, I think that could be cool because internally it's almost very Sith-like if you think of the old Republic Sith, where they're all like, I'm not really your friend, I'm just here so I can maybe one day be on top. It's like the American dream, you know? And so that could be fun for your players if they're working together, but really, if it comes down to it, I'd fight you if it means advancing in the organization. And running into other NPC Nile who are like not afraid to just throw down and cut your throat just because that you looked at them funny, because that's just how it is. I think that would be pretty neat.
So if someone was like, I love this setting, but I don't have there's no official book for it yet. What do I do? They could open up Edge of the Empire, and there you go. You've basically got all the stats you need for the Nile, and what makes them unique are their plot points. The plot points being the paths, the plot points being like their structure and their attitude more than the nuts and bolts.
Don't they use harpoons a lot too?
I think they do.
I swear I remember that happening multiple times. That's another thing that makes me think of the Reavers.
Their organizational structure, and then
they're busy turning everyone into leaves.
Another thing worth noting is
too soon.
Is Marchion Ro, the main villain, the Eye of the Nile, the Eye of the Storm. Nobody outside the Nile knows him. This might be a very, very low-level spoiler for the Danger Zone, but people don't know, like the Jedi, they don't know that Marchion Ro exists. They think Lorna D is the Eye of the Nile. He's the only one who's like super shrewd and planning and tactical, and he doesn't like the galaxy at large does not know that he is like a figurehead for this group. So if you're playing, that's something to know and keep in mind. If you're fighting against them a lot, you don't go, oh, we got to get to this guy. If you're playing as the Nile, it's a different thing, because then you can, he likes to show up every once in a while and give speeches, and they go crazy for him, and then they're like, wait a minute, what does this guy even do for us? He just sits on his ship, and like we do all the hard work, and then like, oh, you find out, yes, you don't mess with him. I thought I had something else to say.
I mean, that was pretty good. And like I was saying earlier, it could. What? Go ahead.
The
take it away.
other thing that seems to be stock standard for every source book type thing for this system is here's 3 to 6 new playable species. And can you already play as a Chadrafan? That's one that pops up a couple times.
Pretty sure. Yes.
I don't think they're going to be adding.
That's what I was going to say.
Species as a playable species.
A Vintian, I think it's called. Let me look it up. Vintian or Ventrillian. Let's see. He was a Vintian or a Vincian. I think that would be great. I would let you guys play as one. we could have a player character.
Thanks.
Didn't they pull out, especially in Light of the Jedi, pull out a lot of like really obscure races?
There's been a lot of that, and there's also a lot of
like I seem to remember like reading through that book and being all like, what is this race? This has got to be some new race that they just made up. And then I'd go look it up and it'd be like, no, they appeared in the background of one episode of Clone Wars or, something like that before this. And it's always like, I feel like that happened to me like 3 or 4 times while reading.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of that.
A lot of like the senators and hangers-on talking with the Supreme Chancellor, whatever, not Supreme.
Oh yeah, you'd probably have stats for her pets, her Targons, the giant lions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of species that aren't statted in the system yet, but none come to mind other than...
Yeah, because like all the main characters are fairly well-known species. I mean, we got humans, Wookiees,
Nautilin,
Twi'lek,
Mirialan.
Yeah.
There's some weird new species in Midnight Horizon that's like can float and has a lot of arms. And I'm like, is this? And I looked up and I'm like, oh, this is new, so I don't know exactly how weird. What about Parwan? Is Parwan in there? That's like the floating mushroom guy who was first in the Clone Wars. I feel like there's one of those in the High Republic somewhere. But in any case,
sounds like some Mass Effect.
I would let
to me.
one of my players play as a Vintian, and they just don't really say anything. There is more to Geode in Fallen Star, but not a little bit. He's still the best, and he I I wonder if we could just have an NPC like him, and then the other players can just infer what he's saying, which is my favorite thing. Like, oh, he knew better than to push the top.
Yeah, we should actually add that to like our High Republic stream. If we ever get a Vintian like in the party, we'll just add like a third camera up there.
No, that's your character layout.
But it's just we just put like a static picture of a rock up there, and then every now and then Evan and Christian can react to to something that the rock is supposedly saying.
Oh my goodness.
I have a little Legion scale mini of him right here.
What?
I haven't primed it yet.
Why?
Yeah, Chris 3D printed it, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'll take that.
Oh my gosh.
I always pictured his top as, not quite so squared off.
But he's pretty rectangular.
Next thing we know, you're going to have a Legion scale of what's his nuts from Rise of Skywalker.
Claude? Oh, I would love that.
Yes. No,
there's a life-size
things.
cardboard cutout. I sent it to you guys the other day. Life-size cardboard cutout Claude.
Yeah, I saw that.
I had room for it.
I said you could do that, but I'll let you use some of our Patreon funds to buy one, but you've got to put a nice sweater on it, like Star Wars thrifting hat on her cardboard Leia.
You know what? This is neither here nor there to the subject, but I would love to see Jar Jar beat the crap out of Claude. It would be pathetic. It would be pathetic, but it'd be great.
Why?
I would love it. Because Claude is dumb.
Claude is a hero of the Resistance.
Claude is just like a guy who showed up in the background for like 30 seconds. He doesn't deserve this hate.
He represents J.J. Abrams.
He represents
at his
the
worst.
best he could offer us in that. Claude and Lando's driver who goes, okay, those are the two best guys. I will not take this Claude slander. He's just a dick lump and he's great. They're like, fix the ship. He's like, I don't have arms. He's a trototome. That's it. The source book includes a Vintian stats and a trototome.
Oh, don't do this to me. No. It is bad and you should feel bad.
Gonna send you a little comic I draw of Claude beating up Jar Jar.
No, give me Gungans all day long. I want to see Captain Tarples put Claude on a skewer. Anyways.
Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. I clicked on Trototome,
now
which is Claude species.
Of course you did. Why wouldn't you?
And the quote says, maybe it's a Trototome or something that got lost. Not that I've seen one on board, and lucky for them, since I'm not sure one would fit into an escape pod. They're kind of squidgy, though. Maybe one could smush in. The quote is by Pika Adrin, who is a High Republic character. And this quote is from Fallen Star. So, the name of the species is mentioned.
Hey now, spoilers.
So we'll stat it up.
They can make it into the source book.
Anytime you need to
roll your Trototome Jedi. Joe, you gotta slip one into the next High Republic session. Just
maybe I'll.
Please don't. I'll kill it on sight.
Well, that would be interesting.
I'm the aggressor.
And especially if Christian doesn't listen to this episode and he's not expecting it when it happens.
He's got to deal with his...
Did my Padawan just do?
Murdering someone on sight because of their race.
They endangered my people. They enslaved my people. They sold us to the Sith.
I'm picturing these guys as slave overlords. Like, how are they, cracking the whip? They don't have arms.
They use their mouth.
Use their whole... I'm picturing a bunch of doing their
whole body.
The wacky waving inflatable tube man dance.
It's very intimidating when you get a whole crowd of them doing it at you. Of them?
That's right. Whole worlds have been destroyed.
All the Zabraks were of Evan's planet were like, I mean, they don't have arms. We could probably just walk past them and go away, and it's all like, well, you wanna look at that.
We never saw it coming.
Look at the way they're swaying. What if one of them touched me? Well, it's
they're foaming at the mouth. What is that? Overstimulated.
No, they're foaming at the tip.
Here's one other species you can play as.
Disgusting.
A Bonbrak, which is basically like a little cartoon character, bat mechanic kind of guy. Bonbrak. You look it up. They're just definitely little cartoony guys that just kind of hang around and fix things and swear at each other in some alien language. So there you go.
Okay.
I think that
all right.
includes all the content you could ever want in a High Republic source book.
All right.
You could add. Didn't High Republic recanonize Zeltrons? Could put them in there.
Did they?
Are they not in the RPG already?
That's a good question.
Well, High Republic Adventures Monster of Temple Peak. First appearance seems to be the A New Dawn audiobook, which was the first ever canon novel. So they've literally been canon since canon has been a thing.
Okay.
I thought I remember when they showed up, when
visually.
One character in High Republic Adventures showed up as
That's probably true.
Zeltron, like everyone was like sort of freaking out about it, like, oh, they're canon again.
It looks like that might be the first time that they've like visual, because I mean you could say like in a book a Zeltron and not describe them, and then maybe they could be whatever.
I mean, even this, it says first pictured in Join the Resistance.
Ooh, Join the Resistance is infamous for lots of reasons. That's Snap
my.
Wexley has a wedding in that. I actually haven't read this one, but he has. I know of it because Snap gets married in that book, and because of something they ate, everybody farts. It's a fart wedding. Like everybody at the wedding, Poe Dameron, Jessica Pava, everybody's just farting like crazy. And that's Snap's wedding.
That sounds amazing.
I guess that's better than a barfarama.
Okay, well, I guess we don't need to worry about Celtron. Whatever.
Oh, hey,
Okay,
here's
great.
hold on. Despite my ad blocker, maybe I disabled it on Wikipedia, but I'm getting a targeted shirt ad. I haven't read it yet. Should I read it?
All right.
I get my attitude from my freaking awesome dad. He has a backbone made of steel and a heart made of gold. He has anger issues and serious dislike for stupid people. You hurt me and they'll never find your body. In parentheses, yes, he bought me this shirt. Should I buy it?
To give to your child someday? Just buy it and put it away in a box for the future.
Your father
He's
wanted you
asking
to
for
have
gift
this when you were
ideas
old enough.
But your uncle wouldn't allow it. I'll get that for your boys for their birthdays they got coming up, Leo.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So, I mean, besides looking at YouTube ads,
There's a
apparently,
Wikipedia ad.
Google ads, a Wikipedia ad. Okay. Well, in any event, I think we developed a pretty good source book. I think we should also have a fold-out map that's included with this book, so they can see the state of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I don't think so. We'll include John Jackson Miller as one of the co-authors just because he deserves it.
I would
what else?
like-
What
Yeah,
else?
I mean, it's not like the man's not keeping himself busy with Star Trek these days.
I would
I mean, yeah,
like
it's
a
true,
new
yeah.
set of dice for the game that are sort of Art Deco. You know, make the yellow dye gold,
Ooh,
that sort of thing.
that's not a bad idea. Some very premium
The
gold-plated.
one thing I've wished they would have done by now is make fancy dice that you don't need but you want. Like all the organized play prizes for all the miniatures games, that sort of thing, but for the RPG. And then you can just buy them. You don't have to go to an event or something. You don't have to win an RPG tournament.
All you need is a license, and if you're willing to make some dice for them, be like, hey, I'm gonna use your emblems, okay? I'll give you a cut.
Yeah, just no big deal. Just get a license to the Star Wars role-playing game symbols.
I mean, what are those icons anyway?
I'm sure they're trademarked by
What are
Lucasfilm.
they? Does
or
Lucasfilm
at the very
even know
least,
they
or
exist?
at the very least by
Asmodee / hedge fund. Okay. Well, there you go, everyone, looking for some ideas too. Whoa, that's my spray stick
I
that
found
just fell
some
on the
3D
floor.
printed ones, and they look hideous.
Oh. That's
They
unfortunate.
cost about as much as if you just bought yourself a real set.
That sucks.
I'm gonna have to get into dice casting.
Yes, you will.
Maybe I'll make big ones.
Just make a really big triumph and a really big yellow and a really big red. That'd be fun. Unless anybody has anything else to add, we're probably slowing down my speech in case you do have something, but it sounds like no. So I hope everyone enjoyed this theory crafting of what we might hopefully one day, maybe possibly, potentially see out of a High Republic source book. Not necessarily for, but, specifically for FFG/Edge SWRPG. Thank you,
start
Leo.
calling it Edge's Star Wars role-playing game when they actually put a book out.
Yeah, they haven't even.
They're reprinting.
Wonder if will the reprints have their logo, or are they just like reprinting where it's literally identical?
They just use like an ink stamp on every one that comes off the assembly line. It says Edge on it. But hey, Edge, you know what? Edge's website changes more frequently than the mass atomic games.
That's because
atomic mass games.
They're making a whole new website.
Okay.
They claim it's coming. It's coming very soon.
You know what? I check every day. I'm waiting with bated breath. Thank you, Leo, for your insight. Thank you, Joe, for your insight. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, everyone, for all that you do. You keep this world moving, and through you, all things are possible. We hope you enjoyed this, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of the JodoCast. Tune in for our next Triumph and Despair High Republic RPG podcast. Thank you. Goodbye. We love you.
Bye.